listen, never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Get on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
All right, baseball isn't boring. It's Gordo here in for Bradfo. I'm here with Sammy, and I'm here with Ed Hand, the creator. Ed Hand, the man of the hour, because it's the beginning of free agency. And for those of you who don't know, Ed Hand works incredibly hard on his free agency tracker. That Ed, you've been doing it since 2018. So how many of those? So how many of those is that? 7, 8, 6?
I think this is the 8th annual free agency tracker. Yes,
the 8th annual tracker. Do you remember the number one from your first tracker?
I don't, because it was on a I forget if it was it wasn't Live Journal, but it was like a Live Journal equivalency, and it was on that, and that has since been deleted. So it's been a hot minute. It started at 150 maybe, and then I just kept on seeing guys sign that I was like, oh, I know who that guy was. I could add him to this, and now I hit 300, and then I call it quits.
Okay, and so you're at I think I saw 223 if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that, yeah. Like the early two. I'm not doing any for a little bit just because we're gonna have all the non-tenures and I don't want to run out of space for them at that point.
Good point. So okay, let's back up a little bit. Explain what goes into the free agent tracker for anyone who doesn't know. Tell them where they can find it. Give us the rundown.
You can find the free agency tracker at Beyond the Monster. It's a Substack. You can find it on the Twitter or the X or the Blue Sky, whatever people are using now. I don't think Threads is still pretty terrible, but I would say you just go to Beyond the Monster. You can find it there. It's pinned to the front page. The tracker itself, it's a ranking of every free agent that I deem worthy of being ranked, and it starts at the top, number 1, somebody you've probably heard of. And then by the end of it, I'm just cracking jokes about Domingo Germán being like a less talented Trevor Bauer. And that's that's sort of where it is by the end of it. But I when I was a kid, I don't know, even a kid, I was a teenager. I think it was Passan had this really good tracker on Yahoo Sports that would just be everybody. Anybody that you could think of would be on there. And they stopped doing it, and everybody only does 50 free agents now. And there are a lot more than 50 free agents. There are at least 150 that are probably going to get major league deals, more than that. And I'm a total sicko. I just want to know who everybody is. I want to have some totally arbitrary ranking system for them, and that's what I've been doing for 8 years now. And people... I wasn't on Twitter for a while. Then I got one of those and I started getting a small audience. And then a couple of years ago, Bradford asked me to come on this back in the early days of Baseball Isn't Boring. And I think this is my 3rd year doing this now. So it's pretty fun that people just like to talk about this and are curious about what I have to say, where the rankings are. I'm sure not everybody agrees with a lot of them. I don't agree with a lot of them. When I go back, I'm like, wow, why did I rank this guy that high? I should move him and hope nobody notices. But and I have done that before. That's what's great about this. It's not like I'm committed to keeping people in one place. If I get new information, I will change it.
That's like the ESPN fantasy baseball projections. I'll look at those the day they come out, and I'll be like, oh my God, this guy is way too low. This is fantastic. I'm going to get such a steal. And then by the time the draft rolls around, he goes from ranked 172nd to 81st.
Yeah, because it's the information is constantly evolving, and it's not always because X player is better than Y player. Sometimes it also has to do with who else is available. So somebody like Willie Adames this year, I think he's 5th or 6th. I forget which, because Roki Sasaki got added into the mix, and he's number 2. But there was a year where there were a ton of really good shortstops. It was Carlos Correa and Trey Turner and Xander Bogaerts were all free agents. Well, Willie Adames would have gotten pushed back that year, but this year, not a lot of middle infielders. So he's the top middle infielder. He's way up there. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best player, but they're the best at a position that isn't readily available. That's worth something.
Basic economics, demand. So speaking of which, a lot of good starting pitching on the market this year. My first question about your tracker, which, by the way, great job. I can't imagine the time you put into it. It's very, very detailed. You even have Gordo's favorite player, Johan Ramirez, on there.
Number 211.
Who already signed. Already signed.
Okay, wait, Sammy, before you ask, was he the first guy you crossed off the list?
He was.
Let's go!
All right. Johan's great. One of the best players we've ever seen in our lifetime. But let's talk about Roki
right.
Sasaki,
Not as good
who is
as
also
Johan.
good. Roki Sasaki coming over from NPB, a little bit of a surprise, very talented kid. But my question for you, you have him ranked as the number 1 pitcher, and I believe, let me check, number 2 free agent overall, correct? Ahead
That's
of
correct.
guys like Corbin Burns, Max Fried, Snell. I want to know what's the thought process behind Sasaki being the number 1 pitcher, and why are you so confident in this kid?
Because he's 24 years old and he's going to cost a maximum of like $2.5 million to get. You're not going to get that kind of. You would pay $2.5 million for the first pick in the country, right? Like if Paul Skeens hit the market for $2.5 million, you would jump all over that. That's the kind of arm Sasaki is. So is he as battle tested as Burns? No, but he's also 6 years younger and throws 102 miles an hour. So I think just as far as the cost and what you're getting out of him, the only guy that's better is somebody that's playing every day and is Juan Soto. You're not there are very few years that you are going to have somebody better than a pitcher with as good stuff as him, as highly regarded as him, and as cheap as him. And that guy's not number 1. That's not going to happen very often.
Well, let me ask you a question on that, Ed. So he's your number 2 free agent on the tracker. Juan Soto is number 1.
Yep.
Are you going just based off of ability here, or do you factor the potential cost in? Like, for instance, if for my team, I think it would be more franchise altering if you sign Roki Sasaki and basically get a potential number 1 pitcher in all of baseball for practically for free than if you eat up whatever amount of budget Juan Soto would eat up. But at the same time, if it's just based on talent, it would make sense.
No, that's a very good question also. I think that when you have Hall of Fame talent, a hitter is going to be worth a little bit more than a pitcher just because they're in the lineup every day. They're less of an injury risk. And in Soto's case, he's 26 years old.
Yeah.
So he's in the lineup every day. He's not pitching once every 5 days. That goes a long way. Less of an injury risk. And with Soto, he just offers so much too. The guy can hit. He'll get it. He's got a skill set that's going to age really well. He's got hits for power. It's apparently not as bad of a fielder as we all thought. And I don't know with Gold Gloves what they're worth, but he was a nominee for right field Gold Glove.
I don't get it.
He's just a supremely talented, active inner circle Hall of Famer if things stay on the same trajectory. And he's not quite like Mike Trout, where Trout had the kind of body that you knew was eventually going to get kind of banged up. He's a little bit more projectable to stay healthy, so that he might be in his late 30s and still drawing 1 million walks and hitting 30 homers a year. I think that no one's a slam dunk, but Juan Soto is as close to saying, yeah, I'm getting my $600 million worth or whatever it is that he gets.
That's the thing, Ed. The plate approach, the lack of swing and miss, the body, just the fact that he's never had a bad year. Like, his down years are still elite years based on anyone else's standards. It feels, and to boot, he's so young that even if he does, take a step back in his age, 35 season, you're getting practically a decade of incredible play from Juan Soto before you even get to that point. So yeah, I agree. He's even though he's going to be expensive, he's about as safe of a bet as you can make.
Mm-hmm. So here's a less safe bet and an interesting one to talk about. Shane Bieber, your 2020 Cy Young Award winner, 29 years old, started off hot in 2024, got injured. So I'm sure you're weighing the cost, the talent, the injury. How do you come to decide that Shane Bieber is your 15th ranked free agent?
So do you have the list up in front of you right now? Because if I put up other things, it messes up my my account. What I generally do is I will go and I will look at who I put above the person and who I put below them. And then I look at who the other free agents are. And I think to myself, would I trade X for Y?
Okay, so you have Evaldi, 14,
Yep.
Michael Wacha, 13, who has re-signed with Kansas City, and then Glaber, 12. And then below Shane Bieber, it goes Christian Walker, Ha-Sung Kim, and Sean Manaea.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason why I went with Bieber there is because he's what is generally referred to as a high reward end. I don't know if he's a high risk, high reward. I think that he's closer to medium risk. You never really know with Tommy John surgery, but this is a guy that was pitching hurt for a while. He had dropped some velocity because his elbow was all messed up. Now that he's back, now that he's rehabbing, some of that velocity should come back. Most guys come back a little stronger. It might take a year or two. You don't know if he's 100% going to be that. Pitchers, and he's not the biggest guy in the world. Pitchers are fragile, which is why I put him below Eovaldi and Waka, who a little healthier, a little more of a guarantee. But I have him ahead of Minaya because I don't trust Minaya's success for 1 year. And I put him ahead of Kim because Kim was hurt and just coming in with a shoulder injury. So that's the kind of calculus that goes with this. If Bieber is healthy, 31 years old, Cy Young caliber pitcher.
Yeah,
it's
pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's going to be really interesting.
The amount of thought you put into this is impressive because there's other, I guess technically you're a fan. I think you're a step above fan. You do a lot of stuff, but there's other fan-made free agency trackers, and it kind of seems like this player is better than this one, that one's better than that one. But the thought of like the guys around the player dictating how much value the guy sandwiched in between it's very impressive. And I think like when you have a guy like Bieber, it's nearly impossible to rank him quote unquote correctly because there's so many factors that go into it. I feel like you might have cracked the code as to like how you manage ranking a guy like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I love it with guys like Gleyber Torres are really hard to do too, where it's like they're young and they're clearly talented, but what the heck did they do last year? Like it's
young and semi track record, but like he for a couple of years now has not looked like a guy that you want to give a long-term deal to, either performance-wise or like at times attitude-wise.
The tattoo's really bad. The Gleyber has like behind his ear and down. It's a distraction to me.
I should do a tattoo tracker for next year. That's really what it should be.
Gleyber 211.
Do you remember? Oh my God, who was the guy that the Red Sox had for a little bit that threw
Hector Velasquez?
Yep.
Oh my God, you're right.
That was a bad neck tattoo.
Hey, what about Carl Crawford's snake on his neck?
That was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, worst.
He did kind of pull it off.
The worst tattoo. Well, I got two. One is a former Red Sox, and I can't even remember his name. Like Vlad Gutierrez. They had him last year for 2 minutes, and he had like a widow spider on his throat or something. Oh. The other one, what's his name? Oh, Luis Heel on the Yankees. He has "God bless me" on his throat.
Yes.
That is so self-serving. I can't stand it.
Can you guys name the two players in my head that have the Major League Baseball logo on their neck?
Yes.
Because it's like the jersey. Who are they?
Javi Baez and a guy who's no longer in Major League Baseball.
That's true.
Not a good guy.
Man who got arrested again recently.
Yeah,
yes, that's Wander Franco we're talking about, who is not on the tracker because he's a bad guy. But yeah, those two. And Javi Baez, who is more of a sad guy than a bad guy.
Poor Baez.
Yeah.
There's a bust of a free agent. That was a guy that I think was pretty high up on my ranking list 1 year, and that's a contract that set the Tigers back a bit. And
I'm very proud of myself. I hated Baez from the start, never liked him, and I was right. I want to talk about some bats from this class, though, Ed.
Yeah.
So I noticed the order here. I'm going to put three guys in here. You got Anthony Santander, Teoscar Hernandez, and Pete Alonso. And the guy you have highest there is Teoscar, who you have over Santander. Yep. I feel like you posted a poll about this, and I was surprised at the results. So I want to have that discussion, Teoscar versus Santander, and then we can get into Alonso after.
With Teoscar, I think that he's just been more consistent. The only place he didn't hit was in Seattle, where lots of guys go and don't hit, and he showed this year going to the Dodgers that he can still hit. He won Silver Slugger, so did Santander. Difference is that he's done it. Teoscar's a little bit more consistent, and he's a better fielder, so that gives him the overall higher value. That's not to take away from Santander, who is a switch hitter. He hit 44 home runs. He was the glue guy for the Orioles. They're both really good players. I just think Hernandez, if I had to pick one or the other, I would go Hernandez.
It's interesting because Santander, 44 bombs and a
lot of homers.
Hit from both, not even just a switch hitter. He's good from both sides.
Yep.
But and he's younger. But at the same time, Teoscar does have more of a proven track record, coming off an amazing postseason. It'll be interesting because Santander will get more money because he's younger, but I mean, they are kind of interchangeable, at least from a next year standpoint.
Gordo, you just brought up Teoscar's impressive postseason, and Ed, I'm not sure if you heard, but Bradfo, Gordo, and I, we all did a podcast, same show, Baseball Isn't Boring, and we spoke about how teams sometimes, make a little bit of irresponsible signings, maybe overpay by a bit when guys perform in the postseason. Teoscar, a guy like that, how much does his postseason performance matter when you're ranking him?
I think that it matters a little bit, but to be completely honest with you, the top 20 I had completed before the postseason had even started. So obviously a few guys get added to that, but I really tried not to be too affected by that because, by the way, you're completely correct about that. I think that with the playoffs a lot of the time, yes, there were guys that do better under pressure, but it's kind of a crapshoot when you get there. Your stats are going to be affected by the wear and tear of the season. So if you got hurt and you've been playing through it the whole year, of course you're not going to play as well there. You're exhausted. I guess there's a little bit that you can put into that. I think that if you're a consistent playoff performer, like someone like David Ortiz that did it year in and year out, guys like that, sure. But I'm not going to take away from Aaron Judge because he had a bad postseason or something like that. I think you could maybe gain a little bit from it, but not enough there. It's not like Santander lost anything to me because the Orioles lost in the first round also.
Yeah, there are some guys, I think like a couple of Dodgers pitchers, like Walker Buehler almost got a qualifying offer based off of what he did in the postseason. Blake Trinan is a guy who he's been on the scene in the past, but for whatever reason didn't get, I think, the recognition that he properly deserved. And it is now. Yeah, he's spectacular. But let's go back a little bit. Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
He's behind those two, and I'm curious as to why.
First baseman, not quite as athletic. He's got a ton of power. Doesn't really do anything else.
Yeah.
So that's my reason. I like Pete Alonso. I think he's the best first baseman available. I think I put him ahead of Christian Walker, even though Walker has won 3 straight Gold Gloves. I think Alonso's the better hitter. I mean, he might have the most of just like pure raw power in the entire league. But is that enough? Like the amount of money that he's going to get. He's very good. I would take the guy that can play the outfield. I would take the guy that's a switch hitter over him.
All right, I got a tough one for you, Ed. This is a deep dive. I noticed you have some guys who did not play in Major League Baseball last year, in addition to Roki Sasaki. Guys like Kyle Hart, former Red Sox, who went over to Korea, I believe, to remake his career. Haesung Kim, not to be confused with Ha-Sung Kim.
Yes.
Also from Korea. And then Tomoyuki Sagano, who's a veteran pitcher from Japan, 35 years old, older, but still talented. How do you possibly decide where to rank these guys? Because that's got to be unbelievably challenging to find the right spot for them.
Yeah, for some guys it's easy. For some guys it's easier than others. There's another guy that I'm blanking on the name off the top of my head. He's somewhere in the top 100 for me though, because I wasn't terribly impressed by what I saw. But you look at their numbers, you look at their reputation, you read as many scouting reports as you can find on them and you look at the league that they're playing in too, because just because you hit well in Korea doesn't mean you're going to hit well stateside. With Kim, what I liked with him was that he's a second baseman and he's really fast, and defense and speed are things that are going to translate over either way. And he's pretty good at putting bat to ball, which if you're fast, I kind of like that. I don't know if he's going to be much of a power hitter, but nothing that they do is going to be enough unless you're a freak like Sasaki to get into even the top 30. But you make your estimation somewhere in the middle of worst case scenario and best case scenario. And with Sagano was a weird one because I liked him a few years ago. I don't know if you guys remember this. I think it was 3 years ago. They were talking about him coming to the States, and then at the last minute, he just didn't sign. And I liked him a little bit better when he was younger. But he's been a really good pitcher in Japan. He doesn't have overpowering stuff. He pitches to contact, but I tend to trust guys that pitch to contact more when they're in their mid-30s just because they've had to learn how to actually pitch. So I think that has a more likely chance of translating over than if he was a 25-year-old with 93-mile-an-hour heat. We'll see. We'll see with both of them. The other thing is that it's a veteran starter. what's a number 4 starter getting these days? What's a number 5 starter getting these days? Like, those guys are extremely valuable now.
That's why you see guys like Pivetta, Nick Martinez, Luis Severino. I don't know if I would say is a 4 starter or anything, but like that's why these guys are getting qualifying offers, because the pitching is a premium, always is. And in the free agent markets the last couple of years, we're always surprised by how much it goes for. And look at the trade deadlines too. Like the package, like I remember at the time,
it's a shock. It's a shock to everyone. We spoke about this with Ed on Play Tessie about how everyone is shocked every year, and we never learn. There's like no exception. We all get shocked.
It's twice a year too, because it happens in free agency and it happens on the trade market. Like we all remember what Kikuchi did now for the second half, so everyone kind of respects who he is, and he's going to get a good free agent deal. But at the time of that trade, everyone and their mother said the Astros overpaid.
Yep. Everyone.
I talked to him. I had him. Oh gosh,
that's a tough one.
Probably another 3 years, 50 million, something like that.
I'll look on your tracker. Kikuchi is 33.
Yeah, I'm not quite as into him just because of the age, but lefty that throws 97, 98 miles an hour is pretty. Like those don't exactly grow on trees. He's gonna get it. He's gonna get a nice deal. There are guys that I value more than him, but he's pretty good.
I mean, this is so impressive. I'm at the bottom of the list right now. You got guys.
The bottom is funny. The bottom is great.
Dan Altavilla.
No, I read that one. Known for hitting Mookie Betts.
Yeah,
Who the hell is Joe Hudson?
He's a minor league depth catcher that every year I just pick a few guys at random, and I'm kind of like, I'm going to put this guy on here, and he's going to land, and I'm going to write it, and every single person is going to write who the heck is that?
Sammy.
Mr. Irrelevant, Brian Shaw, the last guy on the list. Ed's description.
Yeah,
he's still playing.
Go to number 207.
207. Oh boy. Is it going to be someone
I like 207.
Oh, Fujinami, beast of a man, throws very, very hard, but unfortunately has absolutely zero idea where the ball is going once it leaves his hand.
Can I tell you where that one came from? The last home game of the year for the Woo Sox this year, they brought him in to pitch the last inning, and he walked. He let a couple guys on. Then he walked in Chase Mydroff for the walk off, and it was like every pitch this guy threw was 101 miles an hour, and just could be down the middle, or it could be like in the batter's box. It was just he had no idea where the ball was going, but boy, does he throw hard!
Probably the most uncomfortable at bat in the world. I would say.
Terrifying.
Yeah,
terrifying.
Yeah. Well, when we talked to Tristan Casas at spring training, it was when we first met him. And I asked him, who is the hardest pitcher you have to face? And he interpreted the question first as, who is the hardest thrower? And he said Fujinami was the hardest thrower. He said Aaron Bummer was the toughest at bat. But he said no one throws. I've not faced a harder pitcher than Fujinami. So I'm always going to believe, because there's always one team. I'm trying to think of the last guy that figured. Oh, I'm thinking of Darwinson Hernandez. And wherever he went, he figured out how to locate his pitches.
Did he? Because I thought he was in Japan last time. Time I saw.
He is.
Hey, do you ever hear my Sox prospects question that I sent them? And I told them I was a believer in Darwinsonism, and I believe he'll become a closer. And that was one of the worst takes I've ever had, because he didn't even survive as a middle reliever in the majors. But just goes to show, like, guys like that at the bottom of the list, it's just a credit to you for trying to place them, because that is a tough task.
I mean, the difference between 133 and 186 is pretty minimal. It's pretty arbitrary. I think people like to think that there's less chaos than there actually is, but it's fairly arbitrary. It's my opinion. I do a lot of the stuff based on would I trade X for Y, and that's how I reach a lot of these conclusions.
All right, Ed, I have a question for you. We're gonna go to the old folks home here. All right. You're gonna
of those this year.
Yeah. So I want you to rank these guys in terms of how confident you are that this guy is going to be able. I'm not going to say be who they've been in the past, but be somewhat of a version of themselves and reward the team that signs them.
Who's going to stay healthy? Okay.
We'll have Scherzer, Verlander. We'll throw Kershaw in there, even though we know he's going to stay with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And Paul Goldschmidt. We'll put Goldschmidt in there too.
Oh, you didn't put Charlie. You want to put Charlie Morton in?
Yeah, we could throw Charlie Morton in there.
No, he's not a future Hall of Famer. No, we've got the future Hall of Famers there.
He's not a future Hall of Famer. He is probably, is he the oldest of those guys?
I think he's a little bit younger than Verlander. I think he's 41 and Verlander's 42. So wait, you said Goldschmidt, Verlander, Scherzer. Was there another one?
Kershaw. Even though Kershaw's not even that old.
Yeah, I'd
But
go.
his body's worn
He's like
out.
37, I think. Yeah, but he's got an old body. I would go Goldschmidt, then Kershaw, then Scherzer, then Verlander.
I like Goldschmidt first too. He's how many years removed from being the MVP?
Like
2 seasons.
Years. Yeah, and he's a first baseman, so he doesn't have to be in quite as good shape as the other 3 guys who are pitchers that are previously had a lot of. Well, I guess Kershaw's always been more of like a curveball guy, but he just can't stay healthy. He's just his body's kind of falling apart on him right now.
Where do you want to see these guys go? I'm curious. Like, let's pick destinations for these guys. My destination for Goldschmidt is easy. That guy needs to replace Christian Walker and go back to the Diamondbacks.
Love it. I'm a big fan of homecomings. I would say the same thing for Verlander. I think let him finish up his career in Detroit. 1-year deal there. That'd be pretty cool. Kershaw's obviously going back to the Dodgers. Scherzer, I don't think. Who did Scherzer even come up with? Was he the Tigers? I don't think he's going back to the Tigers.
No, he was
Diamondbacks. He was the Diamondbacks too.
Who knows? Who knows? They're in the market to maybe trade a pitcher, but they've got some kids they want to get. They get innings for. I don't know. Diamondbacks may not be the best fit there, but
Scherzer back to the Dodgers would be kind of cool. I think I'd kind of like that. Let him compete for another World Series.
Dodgers need some talent. Those poor.
They are deprived of talent. Oh, Scherzer's a tough one because like you wouldn't send him back to the Nationals. He's going to want to compete for a championship. That's not the Nationals.
I think Scherzer goes to the Astros.
What about the Yankees? What about the Yankees?
I was going to say Yankees, but I pivoted to Astros. I just feel like Scherzer, I don't know if Scherzer would jive well with the New York media. I feel like he would snap back at them and it would be like New York Post would have some piece on him and he'd be mad and it would be a big drama party and producer Evan would be like, I hate these guys. This is great. So I don't see Scherzer.
He would be the Randy Johnson. He would be, former Diamondback, Cy Young, future Hall of Famer, goes to the Yankees for a year. Randy Johnson's year there didn't go very well. I don't want Scherzer to end on a bad note. I'm gonna maybe he should. The Rays don't need pitching.
Can you imagine Scherzer pitching in a AAA ballpark because they're not going to be able to play in Tampa.
So he's not going to the A's either. Then
I don't think he's going to go to the
maybe
Giants.
Not.
Maybe Giants. That's like a
Giants would be kind of fun.
That would be very
Randy
cool.
Johnson. Keep going with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Look at that.
He put up good numbers in that ballpark. I buy that.
All right, Scherzer to San Fran. Let it be said. Let it be done. Ed,
hey,
I got one more for you. We've been waxing poetic about how great your tracker is, how much work you put into it. So I got to flip the script.
Yeah.
Do you have one free agent from any tracker, any year, that you regret placing in a certain spot that didn't age too well? Because we've all got takes we missed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got one that stands out?
Yeah, I think I put Corey Seager like 7th or 8th when he was a free agent because I thought he was going to be too injury prone.
All right. Well, the logic's not bad. He did get hurt in 2024. I think he's
but he also won an MVP. Or
yeah, he
whatever.
did.
Did he win an MVP or did he win an All-Star? Did he win like
World Series MVP?
He's done he's been really good.
The best one of all of them. He won.
He's
so that's one I don't love.
When you look at a player,
I have another one.
Who you got?
Trevor Bauer, number 1.
Oh, good one.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
See, that's just necessary. It's impossible to do this completely accurately.
No,
we don't blame
of course
you
not.
for that.
You put yourself on the line because you are guaranteed to get it wrong. You cannot get it 100% right.
Oh,
There's
no
way.
You're lucky. It's like baseball in that if I get 30% of these right, I'm very happy with myself.
Yeah, you're killing it.
It's not an easy thing to do, but I don't know. It's fun. It keeps me occupied during the off season. It's been really cool just having people like use it as a resource and just have people to talk about it with. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm really appreciative of you guys having me on here and everything to talk about that.
Yeah, but before we jump off though, if you go to Ed's tracker on Beyond the Monster and you scroll through, you're going to see some amazing graphics on there. Awesome work.
Sean Palmer.
I want you to shout him out. It's great stuff. It's really good.
go follow at Palmer Designs on Twitter. Sean Palmer is a tremendous graphic artist. He's done a lot of stuff for actual like baseball agencies too, and I'm extremely lucky that he's been willing to throw a little bit of his talent my way for this stuff. It's been really just a nice thing to have, especially the Willie Adames one. I think is my favorite with his he's got like the cheese hat on in the graphic for him.
There it is such good work.
Oh yeah,
that is. What is his at on Twitter? He's at Palmer Designs.
At Palmer Designs, yeah.
At Palmer Designs, give him a follow. At EdHand89, give him a follow. This has been Baseball Isn't Boring with Gordo, Sammy, and Ed Hand, the king of the free agent tracker. We will see these guys little by little get crossed out along the way as they sign with new teams. Maybe start picking that up in 2.5 weeks. Maybe 2.5 weeks. Yeah.
Hey, Travis d'Arnaud, man. Best catcher's already off the market.
Good for the Angels, man. Good for the Angels. Let baseball teams. This is what I've always said. Let baseball teams operate more like the Angels. Thanks for tuning into this one. Baseball isn't boring.